What's up everyone, I am Jamie, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Have a seat, get comfy, hit that subscribe button if you'd like, and if you've been around for a while, welcome back. I'm glad to see you as always. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not making from scratch soap, but we are going to make some soap. We're going to play around with some melt and pour soap. I love melt and pour soap because you can make so many different gifts and just fun soaps without having to worry about lye safety. So if you've never made soap before, melt and pour is always a great place to start, and just to start experimenting and playing with colorants and additives and fragrances. It's fun. Highly recommend, 10 out of 10. So this week we're going to do something a little different and play with some melt and pour soap. And because The Mandalorian is coming out on the Disney's new streaming network, not sponsored, wish it was, Disney, give me a call, I decided we were going to do some Mandalorian soap. If you didn't know, I am pretty much a giant nerd and I love all things Star Wars, especially anything to do with Boba Fett and the Mandalorians. But I digress. So we are going to make these soaps today. I made the decal I printed out on dissolvable paper, and I actually use my silhouette to cut it out. If you don't have a silhouette machine, you can always make images and hand cut them. The great thing about the dissolvable paper though is that when you finally do get down to that image, it's not going to be like regular paper where it's going to like peel up and be gross. It's just going to naturally dissolve like it was never there to begin with. So it's a really great little thing to have in your arsenal, especially if you want to make some really custom soaps. But I will link everything I am using today down in the description box, so be sure to check that out. And without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to initiate a little bit of a voiceover action. For this project, you're going to need a silicone mold as well as the dissolvable paper that I mentioned in the intro. I will link it down below. I found it on Amazon. It's fairly inexpensive. You'll also need some colorant. I'm using a combination of green and black. And then, of course, if you wanted to add fragrance, you are welcome to do that as well. So a fragrance of your choice, as well as some good old-fashioned rubbing alcohol and melt and pour soap. I am using a combination of both clear and white opaque. You can't just use clear for this project if you want. I started off with just creating some Mandalorian symbols, or any image or symbol that you want to use. Go ahead and print that off on your dissolvable paper. You can use it in an inkjet or a laser printer. I have both and it works perfectly fine in both. And then I just used my silhouette machine to cut them out. I didn't quite use the correct setting, so I had a little bit of issue getting mine out. I had to trim it up with a razor blade, but other than that, it was fairly a straightforward and simple process. Once I had my images ready, I got my mold ready to go. I got this mold off of Amazon as well. It's a 2 by 3 inch mold and it works great. I'm just going to give it a spritz of rubbing alcohol and set it aside. And I'm going to take my clear melt and pour soap, and I am just going to melt that real quick in the microwave in about 10-second increments since it's such a small amount. You can also use a double boiler if you'd like. Once that melt and pour was nice and liquidy, I poured a thin layer in my mold. I'm not adding any fragrance to the clear just because I don't want it to cloud up the clear melt and pour, so my image is nice and clear and sharp in the soap. And of course, the thicker you do of this layer, the longer your image is going to last in your soap. And then I'm just going to give it a quick spritz with rubbing alcohol to break any surface tension, to get rid of any bubbles. Once that first layer has dried completely, I'm going to give it another spritz with rubbing alcohol. That way my decal will stick down and will have less air bubbles in between the actual dissolvable paper and the first layer of soap. And I'm actually going to saturate this a little bit with rubbing alcohol just to make sure it stays down stuck and doesn't end up floating in our next layer of soap. Once I was happy with the placement of my decal, I went ahead and gave it just another spritz of rubbing alcohol. It's just going to help everything kind of adhere to itself. And then I'm going to just lay down another thin layer of melt and pour soap over that and let that harden completely as well. Once that last clear layer had hardened, I went ahead and started working on my next layer. I'm using some white melt and pour this time. You can stick with clear if you want. I just wanted a nice solid background, and I'm using about 4 drops of green to 1 drop of the black to make it a nice solid color. I'm using liquid colorant that I got on Amazon that I will link down below. Just like the clear melt and pour, I went ahead and melted down my white opaque melt and pour with my colorant, and I also added in just a little bit of fragrance oil as well. If you're going to add fragrance, this is the time to do it on that very last layer. That way the first two clear layers aren't cloudy. So I'm just going to fill up the rest of my molds with my colored soap, and then I'm going to give it a nice quick spritz of rubbing alcohol. That way I can break up any of the surface tension and pop any bubbles that may come up. And I'm just going to let this harden. Since it is melt and pour, every melt and pour is a little bit different. This particular brand that I'm using took about 3 to 4 hours at room temperature to harden, where I felt comfortable taking it out of the mold. So once everything was nice and hard, you can kind of see that I tested the one on the far right and it wasn't quite ready, so I have a thumbprint in it, no big deal. But once everything's nice and hardened, you can remove it from the soap mold and they are ready. You don't have to cure it, they are ready to use right away. Package it up in a nice little gift bag and give it out to friends and family for the holidays, or in my case, I'm keeping them all to myself because I think they turned out pretty awesome. So that is what I have got for you guys today. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see some more melt and pour type videos, be sure to let me know in the comments. I also wanted to start doing some DIY projects just because we are getting close to moving to Arkansas. I go next week to actually close on our forever farm, and I've already got a lot of plans on what I want to do, and I'm going to have my own little studio there. So I'm kind of starting to work on some DIY projects here in Washington that I'll be able to take with me. So if you want to see some of those DIY projects, they're probably going to be more of the nerdy variety. Like I have a Rick and Morty project that I'm getting ready to do that I'm super excited for. If you want to see stuff like that, let me know down in the comments below as well. And that way I can post them here on this channel, or I'll just post them straight to the blog. Whatever one you guys want, let me know down in the comments below. And of course, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!